Hey, hello guys, welcome to this particular lesson, and we're going to be looking at what exactly is web development. I know some of you will be like, "Oh God, Maestro, why not just let us go right into the code? I just want to learn how to code. Why are you taking us through all this?" Now, but don't worry, there is let me put it this way: there is a method to my madness. Okay, now these all those bits of information are things that will actually help you a long way in your web development journey, your web development career. So, without wasting your time, let's dive right into it. So, what exactly is web development? Now, basically, web development deals with writing codes that work on the internet. Okay, that's just basically what web development is. So now it's divided into two major parts. Now, remember earlier when we are talking about the two major type of devices we have on the internet, which are the clients and the servers. So that is actually your area of focus on those devices actually would tell you the part of web development you are going into. Okay, so now the first one is client side web development. Now, this is more popularly known as front end web development because it deals with everything that is on the client side, that is on the device browser. So, how everything is working fine, so everything is displayed well, how all the interaction are giving a particular response, all the actions are giving a result. So that's basically what front end web development does. Okay, so recap again. Front end or client side web development deals with everything that happens in the browser. So my business as a front end web developer is what is happening on the clients to make sure that okay, the users are saying, are interacting well, and they have a good experience, they enjoy being on the site. That's basically what a front-end web developer does. Now, server-side web development. Now, this is more popularly known as back-end web development. So, this is actually the part of part of web development that deals with what is happening on the server. Things like the server's programming, okay, how the server is going to respond to requests, okay, how the server is going to store all information on the database. So that's basically what server side web development does about. So most of when you interact with website, a lot of people see both the front end, but don't know that a lot of things are happening on the back end, which the back end developer is responsible for. So that's too bad. Anyway, talk about tough break. So anyway, let's continue. Now, what about full stack web development? I'm sure you must have heard of full stack. Full stack. Now, full stack web development basically means okay, having both knowledge of client side and server side. Now, one misconception a lot of people get is now being a full stack web developer does not mean every time you're working as or you're working full stack, you're working on both client side on or server side. It just means you have the knowledge to be able to work on either part. Okay, so because I've had projects where I worked on just the front end, okay, I had nothing to do with the back end. It was none of my business. There was a back end developer for that. And I've had projects where I've worked on back end development, and I've had projects where I've worked on both. Okay, so let's continue. Now, front-end development, this aspect deals with the client and client-side programming, building of user interfaces, and make use of technologies such as HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Now, those are non-negotiable. Those are non-negotiable. The others I'm going to list now are negotiable, so you can decide to actually go into them, which is actually good and encouraged. Okay, so we have things such as Bootstrap, which is a CSS framework. Remember, CSS. So every other thing we are still going to mention will still stem from both HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We have something like Tailwind CSS. Oh, I love this guy. Tailwind CSS, which is also a CSS framework. Okay, now we have things such as Angular, um, React, Vue, which are JavaScript frameworks. So, front end, we have technologies such as HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap, Tailwind CSS. We have lots such as Boma, Foundation, Material. So we have those. We have Angular, Vue. We have React. We have Svelte, and so many more. Okay. So now let's move on to server side or back-end web development. Now, this aspect deals with the server-side programming, servers databases. So, make use of technologies such as PHP, make use of MySQL as a database, Node.js, Express.js, a framework for Node.js, MongoDB as a database. We make use of Go language. You can make use of .NET, which is a framework for C Sharp by Microsoft. We can make use of Django, which is a Python framework. We can make use of Spring. We can make use of Ruby on Rails. Okay, now let's quickly look into the web development stacks. Now, this is very important because as a web developer, you're going to actually choose a set of related stacks that work well together. Now, as you probably mentioned before, you see there are a lot of technologies when it comes to both front-end web development and back-end web development, and there are some technologies that work best with each other. So, and this is what brought up the idea or the concept of stacks. So that is, you know, stacks, you can put things together, so they work together very well, and you can put them together. So web development stack, there are no wrong web development stack. Let me clear that misconception right now. So there are no wrong web development stack, though there are some. I can tell you definitely that there are some that are definitely more popular and more used than others, but there are no wrong. So every one of them should and can basically do the same thing when it comes to front end, back end. Okay, so, and this web development stack, they usually combine for both front end and back end. So technologies in front end that are compatible with that of back end. So let me start with a Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. And then we also have the LAMP stack, which is Linux, Nginx, MySQL, and PHP. Now these two stacks are very popular. Then we have the main stack. Okay, now the main stack is JavaScript oriented, contains of MongoDB for the um database, contains of Express to you too. Okay, so it allows you to Node.js allows you to use JavaScript on the server side. And then we have Angular is a front end framework. Okay, now the rest, the remaining about 2 to 3 I'm going to list, are just basically making use of the same thing, MongoDB, Express, Node, but then the front end framework is what is going to change. Okay, we have the merge stack. Okay, now, make use of MongoDB, Express, React, and Node. Okay, we have the MAVN stack, which makes use of MongoDB, Express, Vue, and then Node.js. Okay, and then we have the Python stack. Now, we can make use of either Django or Flask or any other Python framework and any related technologies that can work with it. So I can decide to be a Python developer, build my app with just Django, and then okay, render the HTML to the browser. But I can also decide to combine it with a front end framework, maybe create an API that okay, the front end would connect with, let's say something like Angular, or let's say something like React or Vue or Svelte, etc., or Remix. So that is the Python stack. And then we have others such as Ruby on Rails. So Ruby on Rails framework and any other related technology that okay you want to make use of. You can decide to make use of um maybe for the database, make use of something of like PostgreSQL or MySQL, same way with the Python stack I mentioned earlier. Okay, and then we have the .NET stack. Okay, Microsoft .NET framework and related technologies. We have the Go stack, Go language, and then related technology. And then we have Java stack, using maybe Spring or any Java web framework and related technologies. All right, so we've come to the end of this particular lesson, and then I'm so excited to announce that I think the next lesson after this, we're going to start diving our hands on codes.